Most people see the lights. What they don't see is the crew sprinting through the park 5 minutes before the gates open, trying desperately to figure out why half the park just lost power. Because when thousands of people show up expecting the magic, everything just has to work. Today on Skilled Nation, we're sitting down with Sammy and Kyle Pratt, better known as the Pratt Brothers, creators of the nationally recognized holiday light spectacular. What started as two brothers decorating their family home turned into a full-scale entertainment business built on creativity, entrepreneurship, and of course, the skilled trades.
Welcome to Skilled Nation, where hard work meets real opportunity. From welding and electrical to HVAC and the trades that keep this country running, this is where skills turn into careers. Skilled Nation is sponsored by Tulsa Welding School. It's a way of life, a badge of honor.
Guys, welcome to Skilled Nation.
Jimmy, how are we doing? Thanks for having us.
We're great. I love having people in on a 100-degree day to talk about Christmas lights.
Especially in AC, it's the best. It feels like jingle bells in here.
This is obviously an unconventional business, and you got to it, in a non-traditional way. Tell me about this path.
Yeah, go ahead, Sam. You're better at it than
Oh,
I
man,
am.
it's a long story. We're coming up on 12 years into this, but we started doing Christmas lights at our parents' house. We were building a living, breathing resume to go work for Disney. When Con and I were probably in our teenage years, we reached out to a couple people at Disney and we're like, hey, we want to come work for you guys. And they were like, oh, great. We don't really care about your degrees. We want to see like a living art portfolio. So like, okay, great. We'll put Christmas lights up at the house, create a little show, create an experience for people to come in, view it, experience it. And then we were literally burning our show to a CD like Eminem and Dr. Dre and shipping mixtapes. Shipping it off to Anaheim every year and like, hey, look at this, look at this, look at this.
And were they looking?
They were
looking.
We were in constant contact with the main guy who does all their nighttime spectaculars there, and he would just encourage us to keep it up. And we wouldn't ask for the positive feedback. We would ask for like, what don't you see, or like, what is it that we're missing? And they would give us, some notes. They were so kind, and every time getting back to us, just helping us out and guiding us the right path. And we just kept adding and adding every year. And then it got to the point where about just before COVID and after COVID, where the house just got way too busy with people. I mean, we were on a residential street that's only spans a mile long in the middle of Scottsdale. So you can only fit so many people on the street. When we first started, I always joke that we had our parents and our mailman watching the show. And then it got to the point to where probably the busiest night that we always historically talk about, where about 5,000 people were there at one time. And the cops had to come, they had to shut it down. It was a whole mess. And then I always give credit to our older brother, David, who was there that night. And he said, he goes, I know you guys always want to work for Disney. He goes, but you guys should think about something different. He goes, just look at all the people here and think about something you could probably do here in Arizona. And that kind of planted the seed in our head of what the possibilities were. So the next year after that, we signed up to be on this show on ABC called The Great Christmas Light Fight. And we thought to sign up for it.
I love that concept.
Yeah.
Let's take the most precious time of the year of human connection and turn it into a competition reality show.
Yep.
Okay, good.
So we thought, hey, let's make this our final year because the house just can't hold anymore. Win or lose, this is the final hoorah. And luckily we won the show. And we thought that was a great point on that to close a chapter in the book of the house and start something new, which is our commercial venture, which we've started in 2021.
So before we get too far into the commercial venture, I want to, what age frame are we talking about? You talk about being teenagers, you talk about contacting Disney, but that's a large span, right? I mean, are you talking 13, 15? What were you?
I was 18 when I started, and Sammy was 15. Okay. So that was our first year. And
how many years was it just strictly on the house?
6 to 7?
Yeah,
7
7
years?
6, 7?
Yes.
6, 7, and it happened organically.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's for our Gen Echo or whatever they are. Something after Gen Z.
I feel old nowadays.
Okay.
But yeah, we did that for about 6 to 7 years at the house. And, we came home from high school. We did our homework. And instead of going to hang out with friends, we would go out and put up Frosty the Snowman and flame machines on our wood gingerbread house. And our friends were always confused why we couldn't hang out. And then they finally always came up during the season. Like, okay, we get it.
So what did the peer group say? Were your friends just blown away by this?
They were. Or
I mean, saying, what's wrong with you?
kind of the latter there. I mean, Sammy can speak for himself, but my friends, they just didn't really understand like why I would want to do this rather than, that age you're going out, hanging out, socializing, partying, doing its own thing. I'm like, it's just not doing anything for me. Like I get more enjoyment out of doing this than anything, which I'm glad it did because it paid off. But, they were still cool to us and everything. But Sammy and I kind of felt like the outcasts for a while because we were just at home playing with Frosty and Gingerbread and fire machines.
And is that a good way to meet women? Wonder.
No. It's not. No.
That's why you didn't have more people joining in, right? There.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. They're like, we're going to go out to the clubs. Enjoy your gingerbread.
Yeah. Making eyes at Mrs. Claus. You're both on the naughty list.
Yeah. Very, very.
Okay. So that got you through the teenage years. And I'm fascinated by the Disney influence. What had you gone to Disney World or Disneyland as kids? I mean, what put the Disney in your blood?
Disneyland, was always a special place for us. We're a big family of 6. It was the one vacation we did a year, and we would go for a week at a time.
That's a big Disney trip
during Christmas time. Yeah. And we did that ever since I can remember. I think I was 2 when I started going. But as Kyle and I got older, what Disney is amazing at is escapism. And they would take our brains and put them in a different spot. And, at the time you're going through stupid stuff in high school, whether it's breakups or friendships or sports. And it was like the one place where we could escape the worries of the world. And I don't think that feeling ever left Kyle and I. And I think when I got old enough to realize, like, what do I want to do for a career? Kyle and I talking about it, we both kind of agreed, like, we felt like we needed to give that feeling back to people and recreate that feeling for other people and for kids that could be going through the similar stuff that we were in high school and college. And I think that's kind of been the underlying mission of our entire business, is trying to recreate what we felt as kids. It was influential growing up, and Disney does it so perfectly. So, I mean, what a better company to try to imitate than Disney. I mean, they're the kings of entertainment.
Yeah, that aspiration really is setting the bar as high as it can go. Yeah. I mean, Disney is the experience. Like I'll tell you a random thing that I heard about Disney is one of the reasons people tend to retail spaces tend to overly air condition is because the first 5 seconds of walking in from a hot outdoor area and getting that blast of AC feels so good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That little memory getting inserted there overtakes everything else. So if 20 minutes in, you're like, oh my gosh, it's freezing in here.
Right.
That doesn't matter. It's that first moment of that relief going in.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And they have it down to an absolute science.
Yeah.
So what did you have an experience that from age 2? What infused in you? Like what were you emulating, imitating, learning from?
From Sammy can speak on his own, but from mine, I just felt like they always call it the Disney bubble, where you're inside of it. Like I remember, there's a monorail that goes around the park and everything. We used to take the hotel from from the hotel, we'd take the monorail to the park. And there was a spot on the monorail where it goes outside the park, and you would see like a McDonald's and Denny's. And every time when I was a kid, I would close my eyes because I wouldn't want to see that, because I want to like pretend I'm just getting transported into the park. So I remember and they have a whole berm around the park, so you can't see the outside. And that's what stuck with me the most, is that when I went there, I didn't feel like I was on planet Earth. I was like in a different area. And that to me was the most inspiring and influential. I'm like, how cool is it that Walt Disney built a place to where you feel like you're outside of time and space into your own world, and everything inside that world has a marriage with each other that speaks the same. It's like its own lore in a way. Yeah. And you just don't feel like that the outside world of your problems, like Sammy was saying, all the worries, everything, they don't exist. But as soon as you step outside, it's completely different. That's what stuck with me the most, and that's what I think Sammy said our whole core mission is what we're trying to recreate, is that that feeling that it's hard to explain if you haven't been there, but it's when you're there, you're just engulfed into it.
Yeah, Disney's gotten so big now. I mean, they own pretty much, everything in the entertainment industry. But if you go back towards the 50s when Walt was actually building the park, he spent a ton of time studying psychology, how people react to colors and sights and sounds, and putting that all together in one place was fascinating. I think with the older we got, we're like, oh, this place is magical. But then we started realizing, like, oh no, it's the people that make the magic here. And the training behind it, and our brain started going like, how are they doing this?
Why does this work?
Like, why does this work? I ask myself that every time I step in the gates. I'm like, why is this working? You see people that are in their 40s and 50s wearing goofy hats and eating churros and popcorn and acting like they're 3 years old. It's like, how did they get that guy that was frowning outside the gate come in here and now he's acting like he's 5? It's fascinating. The science behind why it works is fascinating. I mean, they literally are the best in the world at doing that.
Yeah.
We are speaking with the Pratt Brothers, Kyle and Sammy. They put on just the Holiday Light Spectacular, and there's a point at which you had to pivot away from just doing the home. It was too much, too big.
Yeah.
But before we talk about, where the business went to, that first time there was a traffic jam, that first time the cops came in and said, what the heck's going on the street here? What did that feel like to realize that you weren't just doing it for yourself now, you weren't just doing it to send a mixtape into Disney, but that it was actually having that magical impact on families? I imagine it was families in cars for the most part.
It was almost...
Were they on foot or in car, by the way?
Both. They would park their cars and walk half a mile down the street to come to the house. I mean, I remember there was one night, I forget what it was. It was one of the later years, but it was like 4 p.m. and a couple families were setting up like picnic towels to sit on the ground, and they had food and everything, and they were waiting because I forgot what time the show started. It was like 6 or 7, and we're like, hey, the show doesn't start till 7. We're like, oh, we know, we just wanted to get here first so we get the best view and everything. And I'm like, Sam, the only time I've ever seen this is when people wait for a Disney parade. I'm like, this is weird that people are doing it at our house.
You knew it was working.
We knew it was working, and it was two sides to the same coin. It was scary because, like, man, we can't, like, people are asking ourselves, hey, where are the bathrooms? Where do we get food? I'm like, this is a house. Like, we live here. Like, there are no bathrooms, there are no concession stands. And the fun part was that, like, we've always had this dream of, like, entertaining people, and we could put that on. But the scary part is how do we control this and grow it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy experience. I mean, I think Con and I would try to go out there every night and talk to guests that were coming out to the house, and you heard about people having rough holidays or not having enough money to afford to go to Disneyland or take their kids to Disneyland, and they were choosing to come to our house. And once that bug kind of bit us, I was like, oh my gosh, like we're doing what we set out to do. We're making an impact, even if it's just a little light show at the house. Mm-hmm. I think that started planting the seed for us. Like, oh my gosh, what if we could do this for tens of thousands of people? And the gears started to turn there. It was a great feeling. It was a great proof. I think Kyle nailed it earlier. Like, we were kind of outcast in high school. I think we took a lot of flack for it. So when you start getting that, it gives you validation. You're like, oh yeah, we're onto something. We're doing something cool.
And I gotta ask, just like, what were your parents saying? You're basically taking their home over, and creating a spectacle out of it. I mean, how did that? What did?
It was we brought it up to our parents that we want to do a light show at the house, and my dad taught us the best lesson ever. It bothered me at the time, but looking back on it, I'm like, it was a great lesson. Because you can do whatever you want in the front yard. He goes, but I'm not going to put a penny into it. You're going to have to figure out how to do this. I was like, wow, okay.
All right, throwing the gauntlet down. Yeah.
So Sammy and I, like, 120 degrees, we do landscaping, we move rocks for people, we go pick up trash,
clean trash
cans, we do anything. And if we got $200, we're like, oh man, we're Scrooge McDuck, we got so much money. So we would buy these flame machines, and then we would go dumpster diving for different props and everything. But it taught us that lesson of if you want something, you have to work for it. And they were so supportive every year at the house, even when all those people came. But the best lesson is that we had to earn it.
Honestly, too, Jimmy, like the one thing that I would say it's still a trait that I think is so important today in businesses is it created desperation. Since we didn't have a huge cash flow coming towards us, Con and I would probably get $1,000 for the year. And so we're like, okay, we want to put on this product. How do we do it? So we would literally be in dumpsters or go to Goodwill or find stuff on the side of the road. Like, having that desperation will drive you like no other. Mm-hmm. Still to this day. I mean, I think
it lights a flame.
Oh, it lights a flame. Like, yeah, for sure. And Kyle's right. At the time, I was, pissed at my dad for saying that, but kind of the greatest lesson ever.
You know what? Our parents, the older we get, the smarter they get.
Yeah, for sure.
Crazy how
For
that
sure.
works.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that effect kicks in with my kids at some point. But you're talking about dumpster diving, picking things up on the curb.
Yeah.
That means you're either refurbishing, repairing, scrapping for parts, and putting new things together. Tell me about the creativity and the hands-on aspect of this, the build aspect of
Yeah, we would just, Sammy and I's favorite thing, even we still do it to this day. We go to Goodwill or we go somewhere and we look at something that could be a plastic kitchen bowl. We're like, okay, what could we make out of this? It doesn't have to be like you go online and you find giant gumdrop that you find or something. So one of our things is we found a bunch of kitchen bowls from Goodwill. One year we made a bunch of lollipops out of them. So it with AI taking over the world, it's so easy to type it in and be like, how do I make this? But I think before it happened, it challenged our creativity. It made our brains grow a little bit, is looking at one man's trash as our gold. And we would look at, all that trash as gold. It's just a matter of what you do with it. It's not necessarily just a kitchen bowl. It can be used anywhere else. And especially at that time too. Us being so tight on cash, I mean, we had no other options.
What I find interesting is that some of the early feedback you got from Disney was, we're not interested in the degree, just show us the work.
Yeah.
Right? So this sounds like, and I'm wondering what kind of mentorship, what kind of training you could, there's a lot of skill involved in taking something apart that was built for one thing and making it repurposed for an entirely different thing.
Right.
What were you learning hands-on? And like, what name would you give it now, even if you didn't know what it was then?
Everything. I mean, like Colin, I would find stuff on the side of the road. I knew nothing about working with wood or metal or electric. And I would spend hours on YouTube with Kyle trying to figure out, we would watch something like how to put together a lawnmower. We weren't putting together lawnmowers, but like, oh, that's kind of the same motor, it's same kind of electric. We were just kind of trying to dissect and then apply to what we were doing. But yeah, I mean, we were working with everything, and then going on YouTube and pulling books out of Home Depot and trying to figure out how to do some of these trades. I'm shocked a couple times I didn't die, literally, from not cutting my hand off or something. But that's part of it. I mean, we were learning as we were doing it from the experience and failing.
What are we talking? We talking wiring? We talking
electric, fabrication of wood, welding, soldering.
And you're learning all this from like finding the parts, finding the tools, and then watching YouTube videos?
Yep. Balancing power, trying to figure out, okay, we have 200 amps on our house. Our show is going to pull 150 amps. We got to have enough power in the house to, make sure mom can run the washing machine and dryer and, trying to figure this out and then testing it.
See, Disney never has to think about that. Disney have to think about, what about mom's washing machine?
I'll never forget, like we sat in my sister's room at one point. We had like a huge surge protector in there, and Con and I we knew we had like a strand of lights that were about 20 watts a piece, and we plugged in probably 500. We're like, we're gonna get to the max until that breaker blows, so we know, okay, now we're gonna cut back 20% from there, and we were trying to figure out the math in real time. I mean, there was no electrician coming to the house teaching us. I mean, so we would literally trial by fire. Like we would wait till that breaker would blow.
Trial by hopefully not on fire.
Oh no. We still, and the funny thing is we still have that outlet, that receptacle. We have it out at our display now, trying to show people like, you can learn by just trying it yourself.
Failing is the best way to learn. I always say that. My favorite quote is Thomas Edison. It's not that I failed 99 times. It's I found 99 ways that won't work.
Yeah,
and that's
true.
That's the best way to always look at everything. It's better to try and fail than fail to try.
Absolutely. We're talking to Sammy and Kyle Pratt. They're known as the Pratt Brothers. They put together the Holiday Light Spectacular. And what's the pivot moment? When was the light bulb? And we talked about the crowds. We talked about what you've learned. But when did you say, this is a business that we're on here?
Yeah, I think, coming out of COVID, Con and I were both done with college at the time. We're like, okay, now it's time to go to Disney. And at that time, we're 7 years deep into doing it at the house, and 4,000 to 5,000 people would be there a night. The reason we get those numbers is Scottsdale PD would sit on the ends of our street and count it so they could come tell us what kind of traffic jam we were doing. But again, give credit to our oldest brother David. He was like, if you do $20 a car and each person comes and buys a hot chocolate, and they come and buy a bubble gun or some kind of merchandise. He's doing the math in his head. He's extremely smart with financials, and was kind of laying it out to Kyle and I. And we were like, oh yeah, maybe Disney's not the option. And then kind of the tipping point was we went to reach out to Disney and see what jobs they're offering, and they weren't hiring. It was post-COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And I think it was a godsend at that point. Like, okay, we're going in a different direction, and let's try this for real.
There's the desperation thing kicking in again.
Let's take the risk.
The thing you were aiming at just
Right.
was taken away,
Yeah.
so you had to punt.
Do or die.
Yeah. So like, let's take the risk and see if we can do it for real.
And so, what does that look like? What
Scared
happened the
shitless.
first year? Well, you're probably scared, poopless. And so now you take everything from the house and you take it to what? Did you rent land? What's that first non-residential look like?
We had a promoter come out to the house the year that he's a big promoter in the city, and he heard about the shutdown in Scottsdale. So he came out one morning and he wanted to see the house and everything, and told him what we're doing. And he had a piece of land out in Mesa that year, and he's like, "Hey, I got a problem. I have a blank piece of land but I have no entertainment, and you guys have a problem. You guys have entertainment, but you can't handle it. So let's talk." And we still had the TV show that we were doing in mind, so we were like, oh, okay, let's talk next year in a few years. So we turned them down that year because our main goal always was to get on this TV show, and we had that in mind. It's like, we got to get to this TV show, and then we'll talk about it. So after the TV show happened and everything, we reconnected with that guy, and he goes, "Hey, are you guys still interested?" We're like, "Yeah, we don't really have much options." So we took a tour of the land, and that was probably the most humbling thing. The best quote ever is, "There's two people in life. There's those who are humble and those who will be." And we got humbled very quick because we realized that doing a house is completely different than doing a commercial project. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to put up lights and to put a snowman and play music, but when you're talking about food and beverage, you got security, you got emergency services, you got parking, crowd flow, all this other stuff. We had to learn within about 6 months how to run an event, because we went from the house to commercial in a span of 6 months.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It was an amazing experience. Luckily everyone had a great time the first year, but internally on the team side of it and the team aspect, everyone on the team was brand new to this, and we were still learning how to swim in this whole new ocean that we've never dipped our toe in before.
I'll never forget, a lot of things were on our mind at the time. Obviously legacy was on my mind, thinking like what my dad has done in the state in terms of entertainment media. I'm like, okay, Connor, I got some big shoes to fill. Thinking about the momentum that we had coming off the house, I think we had a lot of eyeballs on us. Like, Con, I talked a big game, like, oh yeah, we can do this commercially. Now we're watching. And then of course on the finance side of it, you're investing millions into this display, hoping that in 30 days you can not only break even, but turn a profit. I'll never forget Kyle and I sitting there the first night looking out into the parking lot, just thinking, I hope to God we see headlights. And thinking at the time, like, if we drop the ball here, it's not, we're going to destroy our legacy. We'll be taken out of this game, but more importantly, we're going to be in debt. Yeah. Like we're toast after this. Like, our careers are toast. Like, everything was on the line, and a weird, unique business model. I mean, you're trying to make all your revenue in 30 days. Hard to do. Scary.
That is scary. That timeline you're talking about, most people have all year to do it. Mm-hmm. And you're doing it that first year with all your cards on the table, everything on the line. Mm-hmm. And you're novices. I mean, that's what's killing me. In my mind, I'm panicked listening to your story, because to learn that in 6 months, but this is like, on Skilled Nation, as we talk to people considering trades, we're talking to people who usually are deep into their careers. And there's always that pivot point, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's not just the skills they learned, but it's then commodifying that.
Yeah.
Turning it into a business.
Right.
And you didn't get formal skilled trades training, but you learned it on your own by doing it. But then you had to have this whole other thing, which is run a business, BHR. Get a vendor, get the hot chocolate. Tell me about all because I also want to break down, because it's what we care about here. I want to break down the skilled trades that are involved. But talk about all the managerial stuff that you had to learn in 6 months' time with $1 million on the line.
A lot. Yeah, I mean, it was, again, trial thrown into the fire. I think we learned a lot as we were going along. I think, a lot of people, especially in the skilled trades, new friends of friends of friends. You know, we started with one guy out there
Started
who was
networking.
Yeah, moving our shipping containers, which we're using for the basis for our building, and we would tell our story. And I think there was a lot of people that could relate to us. Like, oh yeah, you know, I had some ideas as a kid, never could pull it off. And they would jump on board like, oh, hey, we want to help you guys. And then that person would bring a friend like, oh, my friend's a welder and my friend's an electrician. And slowly Connor would start trying to tell what we're trying to do. It's like, oh yeah, we're not looking to wire a house here. Like, we're looking to take Christmas lights. We wanted to talk to music. We want, you know, very, very unique. So we're asking people that are pros in their trades to stretch their imagination, be like, yeah, we want you to mix your electrician trades with the plumber so we can create fountains, you know, just like random stuff. But you saw this kid aspect come out of everyone that we were working with. And before we knew it, we had a group of 20, 40, and then it got up to 80 people there fighting for this dream, you know, from age groups all the way from 15 years old to, I think, 80. What was Bob? 80? Yeah, 80?
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, all working together and trying to complete this mission for the better good of trying to bring a Christmas experience to families. It was life-changing.
And letting go of control, too, was a big thing.
Hard.
Because at the house, it was always just Sammy and I doing everything. And the best decision we ever made is, I think it's good advice for everybody, is always surround yourself with people who are smarter than you.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to swallow your pride and say, I don't know, because it's not worth it. You're going to waste time. You're going to waste everyone's time. You're going to have a lesser experience if you try to do something that you don't know, and, you know, just have someone else do it who's an expert in it, and you can learn from them too, and then you can know. But don't try to dive into something just because of pride. Pride will take you down very quick.
I remember, you know, again, going back to desperation, being so desperate. Like, I remember walking in one time at Home Depot at 5 a.m. and I saw this older gentleman, manager George, you know, talking to the employees at Home Depot. I flat out went up to him like, hey, why do your people listen to you? And I mean, just seeing his look on his face, like, it's just such a blunt question. I'm like, why does your managing skills work? And you realize more people are willing to help you than you think, you know, like people are willing to share their human experience, everyone first time on earth, and try to give you advice. I was doing that everywhere. I don't care if it was Papa John's, McDonald's, Home Depot, a gas station. I'd be like, tell me how you manage people. How does this work? And people are generous enough to take 10 minutes, 15 minutes and talk to me and then give me their phone number and be like, call me if you have questions. I mean, I was picking everyone's brain and putting it in a notebook. Like, here's how this guy manages, you know, people at skilled trades. Here's how this guy manages food, and just learning, you know, desperation. I had no other choice. Like, we had to get this product up. I'm like, I'm going to go with people right around the area, like that I can go and, you know, talk with or get a coffee with.
Oh, Sammy, you're bringing up something I think is amazing, is that people are more generous when they're given an opportunity to step up and be generous.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
But you know, sometimes we're so isolated and like the social aspect seems to be so like just neglected these days. But people are bursting at the seams to share what they know.
Oh, for sure.
And that's smart advice. So you also had something, I think, going for you that I'm hearing in between the lines here. You were creating magic. I mean, that's kind of, you talk about the esprit de corps that you had with people just like, yeah, let's put on a show. Mm-hmm. People must have really just responded to your vision and your passion to do this. And that creates a team that's invested.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to go into a business. If your only goal is to make money in a business, you're not going to get many people to follow you. And plus, if your heart's not truly in it, the product is not going to speak for itself. I mean, Sammy and I did at the house. We'd give out free hot chocolate. And like a lot of the money we would make over doing summer jobs, we would buy cookies and hot chocolate packets to give out for free to people. So we did this at the house for free for 7 years. So it was even to this day, it's more than a passion. If I didn't make a penny doing what I do now, I would still be doing it. Mm. And when people see that and you relay with the team, and those first couple of years when you're in the trenches with people, you know, Sammy and I are the owners, but you know, one of the first nights, the porta potties we had at the event, they were overflowing and they had to go down. No one wanted to clean it, so Sammy and I went out there and we cleaned it ourselves. And it's about sending a message like, you're not working for us, you're working with us, type of a thing. And when people see that, I feel like it brings everybody as a team, and it reminds them that, you know, this is not bigger than just us. It's about giving that person who's had a rough holiday season, whether it's family, friends, work, or anything, the same feeling we felt at Disneyland, to forget about it because we're putting them first before our, quote, bottom line, so to speak.
You're listening to Skilled Nation, and we're talking to Sammy and Kyle Pratt, the Pratt Brothers, who put on the Holiday Light Spectacular. And because this is Skilled Nation, we do talk about the trades. You are employing people in the trades in unique avenues, right? And how surprised are they, and what kind of skilled trades are you using, and how just delighted are they that they could put it to this kind of magical use?
It almost kind of follows the same pattern. Like we'll bring in fabricators, welders, electricians, plumbers, you name it, and come in, and they've been doing the same thing for 20 or 30 years, working on houses or working on big commercial buildings, and they come into Pratt Brothers. We're like, hey, we're building a parade float. So take a little bit of your knowledge here and then go back and, meet with this other electrician. And I know you guys don't speak the same language. You're a plumber, you're an electrician. Well, now you guys are in the same room and, figure out how to make a fountain shoot 30 feet high. And they look at you and they're like, huh?
Yeah. So what's the light bulb moment? What does it click when they're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool? I mean, because there's got to be a point where they invest, right?
Oh, for sure. Like one of our electricians, he's like, I do houses every day and everything, and you do the same thing every day, and yeah, it pays well and it does great, but it's something a lot of people, they like to be challenged. It's something different. Like we give them the concept art of what we're trying to build, and we can't even explain what it is, what we're looking at. Like, yeah, we want it to look like this. We want bubbles shooting out of these giant pipes and everything. And you're the guy who's going to make it work for us. And they're like, they look like a deer in headlights. They're like, okay. And then we put them in the same room and be like, let us know if you figure it out. And they're like, I was up all night because I was trying to think of different concepts. And people I feel like every human being has this innate nature to try to overcome what they think is not possible. And I would say no matter what trade it is at the event, no matter what, we always try to do something that's unorthodox or out of the book that they're used to. And it gives them some incentive to, because even now they see all the people who come into the gates and how much they enjoy something that they thought was impossible at the time. And it's a payoff. They're like, that's better than any paycheck right there to see, I was sweating in the shop for 4 nights trying to figure out how this work, and these kids are going crazy for it. It's a good payoff, and it's rewarding for them.
Yeah.
I think the world, puts so much rigid walls around people in trades that you bring them into a creative environment like this. One of our guys that's been with us since the start, Mike, at one point, amazing welder, phenomenal welder. But at one point we're asking him to make something, and he's like, oh yeah, let me think about it. He's like, that's not how I was taught. It's not conventional. Then he went home and he's like, hey, I was thinking about something that I saw when I was like 10 years old. He's like, and then the other job I went to, I was in my 20s, I saw something. I'm going to mix those thoughts with what I know now and try to come up with something. And then you see them come up with it. And it's like these walls break down. And then they start realizing like, oh my gosh, like I can use my skills for something completely different than just welding 2 bars together. Like you see the light bulb go off in their head, and then they get hungry. They're like, give me more.
Yeah.
Like, cause it's something so out of the ordinary, and they're like, give me more. And they're just hungry. And then you're all kind of moving in unison on this boat, creating stuff that's just like you're not going to go find somewhere.
What about the collaboration among the trades? I mean, you talked about how, okay, you're a plumber, and you throw them in a room and say, here's some concept art, figure it out. How exhilarating is it for them to be collaborating in a way that's different than the usual job site?
Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say it's good because Walt Disney always used to do the same with his guys. He would put a guy who was in animation and a guy who was in mechanics in the same room together. And they always say Walt Disney was the best casting director because he knew how to get something out of people and what that outcome would be. And a lot of the times, the people he put together did not get along. They would fight as they worked together. But it wasn't like, I'm going to punch you in the face type of fight, but it was to get the best product possible. So we have, if we have 2 electricians, one might be Tesla, one might be Edison, and they have 2 different ways of thinking. But since they have 2 different ways of thinking, those become one unit and you get the best product out of it. And it's not because they're fighting with each other because they don't like each other. They're both fighting because they think they're right. And eventually that will lead to the perfect product.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. All of our guys get along on site, but we definitely see that sometimes. So where we walk in a room, they're like, no, it should be this way. It should be this way. And I'm like, there we go. Now we're getting somewhere.
That's good.
Yeah, it's great.
And so we've talked a lot about electrical. We've talked about fabrication. We talked about welding. Do you get the programmer? I mean, because a lot of this is about sequencing of lights, right? So is there a whole programming aspect?
Yeah,
Is there
so-
an HVAC aspect, or what other trades that are not top of mind are coming in?
We have a programming team. He's sitting right next to me. It's Kyle. Kyle is the sole programmer for the entire display. Something that, again, learned off of watching people and YouTube and
Yeah, it's just
programming.
we're just Sammy and I. We used to at the house when we were, I would say kids, but we used to bump heads a lot because we would be trying to do everything, and we want to be like, no, I can do what you do, and you can do what I do, and then it got to a point to where we're like, no, I'm good at this, you're good at this. I can't do what you do, you can't do what I do. Let's stay in our lanes, and it just worked. Like Sammy is amazing with people. He's a great managerial guy. He's great at operations. He thinks like layouts. He thinks, very, very good, and he's very creative too, which helps in managing, because managing can't just be straight logistical. You got to think outside the box. Hardest thing to do is managing people. I can do that. I'm not great at it. So I'm like, Sam, you take care of that. And then when it comes to, the programming and, something, Sammy will be like, Kyle, we have this space in the event. Here's what I have some ideas for. Go for it.
I give Kyle the canvas, he paints.
Yeah. So I always shoot blue sky, and sometimes I reach Mars, and Sammy has to pull me back down to Earth. And it's great. But, we learned each other's lanes and our strengths. And I think the biggest strength that someone can have is realize your own weakness.
Mm-hmm.
So someone driving through the spectacular, what don't they see? I mean, you don't want them to see it. You want them to just have the experience.
Right.
But like, I got to imagine they're in their car, everything's syncing up. There's a radio station, little, very localized radio station they can tune into. Everything's synced to the music. And they're immersed in the experience. What don't they see that would be most surprising to them?
Let me paint you the picture. Let me go back to 2025, opening night. So we open up on Black Friday. So that means the night before is Thanksgiving. You have a team of about 50 people out there, ranging from 20 years old to, again, probably 70 or 80. And all 50 of us out there are probably past 24 hours being awake.
Oof.
Running around, making sure concession stands are ready to go, make sure the electrical's firing, make sure all the bathrooms are good, everything's clean, the shows are going to go, the actors are going to come in, their costumes are going to be ready, all that. By the time the gates open up at 6 p.m. and people are walking in, it's a perfect magical wonderland. And behind the scenes, there's 50 people that are up probably past 30 hours, absolutely exhausted, and then thinking, oh, we still have 4 more hours to run this. And we'd be behind the scenes looking at people, and they'd be gassed. You can see it on their face. They're tired. And then as soon as they hit on set, as we call it, they walk out into the front. They're in the street. They're like, hey, how's it going?
The guy welcoming you with a smile is cranked about 25 Red Bulls in the past 24 hours.
And I always try to remind people on Thanksgiving night, these are people that have families, kids, and they're choosing to be here and fight for this mission of trying to bring people a Christmas experience and doing something bigger than themselves. Gives me chills. It's wholesome.
Yeah, it's amazing what can drive people. I mean, we always tell our crew that, there's families that can go anywhere in the valley, and if they're choosing to spend their, one holiday outing with us, it better be the best experience they've had to this date.
Oh, yeah.
And it drives them.
So what was, though, before that, especially that first night, 30 hours no sleep, 12 Red Bulls in your system, replacing your bloodstream. What was the thing that almost went haywire? What was
Almost.
There was plenty of things. I mean, one of our main attractions is our Gingerbread House light show. It's a 100-foot long gingerbread house. It's about 30 feet high, and it has pyrotechnics. It has fog. It has fireworks. It has all the bells and whistles on it. It's just this crazy light show spectacular. And it's at the end of town. People can walk up to it and watch it. But what they don't realize is that how much power that thing takes. I mean, I'm not an amp guy. Sammy knows all the power behind it, but
430 amps of power.
430 amps of power. And with all the additions we added, we just did not have enough power. So we were just running things off generators. I mean, we were just trying to figure out how to get it to work, to where that it was like we did everything in the book, and we finally got it just to where it worked. And we're like, okay, let's leave it. It goes up. But what people don't realize is, like, they look at the gingerbread house, everything's going off. There's magical, there's pixie dust sounds and everything. But behind the scenes, you got 5 generators plugged in this. You got a potato with a fork in it, causing electricity. I mean, it's just thinking differently. It's not that, if you expect everything to go perfect, it will never go perfect.
Yeah.
So we plan for those moments, but Like Sammy said, that you were up for 24 hours, but by the time people come, you would have thought, be like, wow, you guys nailed this. You guys were ready a month ago. It's like, oh, no, not even close.
How close to gates open were you still freaking out about something?
Gates were opening when we were still working.
You were still working with gates open.
Yeah.
Another thing too that's so interesting in the entertainment world today is TikTok and Instagram. A lot of people are watching it and they're like, oh, let's go to the event tonight. We try to staff earlier than that. We're not trying to call people the day of. So I think on our opening night we are expecting about 4,000 people to come through. We go and we get a call from our ticketing person in front. They're like, Sammy, there's a huge increase up front. We're going to be around 7. So I'm thinking, well, now we're understaffed. So now I'm calling people. I'm like, okay, we need to get people to come into work tonight in the next 30 minutes. So then that's going on. At the same time, Connor's sitting in our control booth. We go, it's like, hey, one of the bathrooms, there's water leaking. So I'm like, okay, where's our plumbers at? Oh, they're fixing something on the parade floats. Okay, get them over to the bathrooms first. And then trying to figure out, now we're losing power in the Gingerbread house. And it's funny, every trade, you have an electrician going in to fix a bathroom. You have the plumber coming to help with the power. I mean, it's wherever there was fires going on.
Yeah, the finance guy going to buy more cookies
from
Walmart
exactly.
because we ran out of cookies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an ant colony. We're just all running around doing different things. But the nice thing is that we're all in the same boat. And we're all trying to sail to shore. And everybody helps each other out. And, we all have the same driving factor behind us, which is what pushes us.
What's funny, too, is that when people start doing other people's trades along the way, you hear them come back and they're like, I had no idea how hard electricity was. I appreciate you so much. It's like
so much of a
bonding
experience.
And you bond, and it creates like this really tight family. Like, that's the best way I can describe. Like, we're just a tight group, and then the night gets over, we're all standing there together like, we made it. Like, how did that work? And everyone's like, oh, that was the best Christmas display ever. It's like, yeah, you had no idea what went behind the scenes.
This is incredible. What I love about it, too, is hearing about impending doom and disaster of things that just sound so happy.
Right. Yeah.
It's the gingerbread.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But you also, you have to plan something. And we're talking a lot about the technical aspect, but you have to plan an experience. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of creativity that goes into this. Like, what made you decide that the Gingerbread house should have pyrotechnics and fireworks? I mean, talk about the creative side of this, because there's two sides of the brains you're working on.
Well, I think it all started from when we were doing it at the house. And again, my dad taught us one of the best marketing lessons is that, he was in radio for years, and he's like, how do I get people to listen to my show over others? And I'm like, okay. He goes, do the same with the house. Why are people going to drive out to your house to go instead of going to Joe's house that's right down the street?
Once again, Dad with key advice.
Like, that's a good idea. So it was like 2015 at the time. I can't remember anyone else doing fire machines with a light show. So I'm like, I forget who it was. I think it was you or I. Were like, let's add pyrotechnics, like fire machines to the house. And we started to become known in the Scottsdale area as the firehouse, because we would have fire that shoots out of our Gingerbread house. So the same thing, kind of, even to this day, we're like, why would people come to Pratt Brothers over other displays? Well, we're like, let's make this giant whimsical Gingerbread house that no matter, you would never think stuff comes out of it that you would never guess. You got fire, you got fog, bubbles, different effects and everything. And we want people to walk away with the thought of like, what did I just watch? And I can't see that anywhere else. So Sammy and I, every March or spring, we always have this blue sky meeting where we just throw the craziest ideas at the wall. Some stick, some slide, but we always try to think unconventional. It's what can we give people that they can't see anywhere else?
And what is the experience of running something live like this? I mean, there are things that are so far outside any of the trades or anything we've talked about. Mm-hmm. Liability insurance and just all the paperwork stuff and all that. Were you prepared for how much of just that administrative task there was going to be?
No.
You guys rehearsed that because you were perfectly in sync on that. No.
I learned very quick that the easy part of Christmas lights is hanging Christmas lights.
Yeah.
It's the admin, the business side behind it. That's challenging. Kyle and I, we didn't get those 10, 15 years of corporate experience before having our own company. Again, I keep using the quote, trial by fire, but that's really a great example. We relied on a bunch on our oldest brother, David, who's been in corporate America for 15 years, and having that trust with him as a brother to come in like, okay, here's some set of operations. here's how we do contracts, here's how we do liability insurance, relying on that. I'd laugh all the time. In college, they told me, yeah, don't do a partnership, don't go into business with family, and don't hire friends. I do all three.
You did all of them, yeah.
But it's worked out for us. But yeah, no way were we ready for that. No way. I think, and now when we hire people to come and work for us, we try to find people that have that skill of being flexible. And we tell them all the time, like, things are going to go wrong. You got to be able to adapt quick and move on. You're not going to come in every day. There's not going to be 40 hours of welding a week. There's not going to be 40 hours of electrical work. The electrician's going to be doing bathrooms, and the plumber's going to be doing electrical work. Welcome to Pratt Brothers.
I love this. And speaking of the Pratt Brothers, we're talking to Sammy and Kyle Pratt, and they do the Holiday Light Spectacular, and you bring in this diverse group of skilled trades. And when people talk about the trades as careers, I really think they think about silos and lanes, and the welder's going to stay in the welding lane, the electrician's going to stay. You kind of throw that on its head, right? And so can you broaden this out to people listening that are considering the skilled trades? Like, it doesn't have to be rote. I mean, there's opportunities that are very creative, that are very expressive. Can you talk about how you're creating those opportunities, but how they're also just out there, and the entrepreneurial opportunities?
Yeah, it's funny. From talking to other entrepreneurs, I've learned, like, in the trades, you can go work for your typical 9 to 5 and do what you're going to do a house, and you're going to wire a house for 40 hours a week, or you're going to do plumbing for a house. But from talking to other entrepreneurs, a lot of startups, they don't have a crew you have somebody that's going to do 40 hours of electrical, 40 hours of welding. They don't have that. A lot of startups have a small group of people where everyone's going to wear many different hats. So I don't think it's just a Pratt Brothers thing. I think a lot of startups anywhere is taking people that have trades and putting them in different areas that actually help make them grow and force them to work in different lanes that they're not really accustomed to. And I think that's out there a lot. Obviously, startups have a lot of risk, more than a big company, that you can work a typical 9 to 5 and do the same thing for 40 hours. But those jobs are out there all the time. Especially, we've seen that a lot in the entertainment world. A lot of startups, they take a lot of people with unique trades and they're blending them together. I think it's a common thing in startups more than big, huge companies, national companies.
So the skilled trades can really complement that entrepreneurial hat.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure, yeah.
Absolutely. You have to have skilled trades to build the business. Anything. I mean, think about any company in the world. Like, you start with people that have skilled trades, and then they eventually morph into other roles. But most companies that start, it's either somebody's a fabricator, a welder, had experience, and then they start morphing. You have to have that. That's how companies are built.
And even though you guys, coming from the creative side, really discovered how important having those skilled trade operators
have to have. I mean, I can have the best ideas in the world. It takes people with skilled trades to build them, flat out. Yeah. They are the magic. I say that all the time. Like, we can draw the coolest parade float in the world. If you don't have people to build that, it's just a drawing on paper.
Anyone can have ideas.
Anyone can do that. Anyone can have passion about a drawing. It's executing it. And that's where those skilled trades come in. They literally create the magic.
Yeah. And so let's talk about some of the key thresholds in your business. Obviously, we talked about the reality show. GMA was a big one, right?
Good morning. Good Morning America. Yeah. They got word of, it was that night of 5,000 people. And I forget how they got wind of it, but we got
yesterday.
We got an email from the producer from GMA saying, "Hey, we want to do a live segment from your house." I showed Sam. I'm like, "Sam, we got another spam email. This guy saying he's from GMA." And I ignored it, and then he messaged me back again and be like, "Hey," he's like, "Hey, this is not a joke. This is me. You can look me up from Good Morning America." I looked at him. I'm like, "Oh, wow." So I told Sam, I said, "Hey, GMA wants to come out." And this was after the cops came. And I'm like, "Oh, Sam, we're just going to be throwing gas on the fire because the neighbors weren't happy. The city wasn't happy." We're like, "Let's do it, Sam. Let's have them out." So
we'll never speak with our neighbors again.
Yeah. So it was like 4 a.m. and probably to this day, probably the scariest interview I've ever done, because it wasn't pre-recorded. It was live national coverage with George Stephanopoulos, Robin, and Michael Strahan. And
these are the biggest names of broadcast.
Yeah, and it was like at 4 a.m. and we talked about the house. They were live from New York, and then the scariest part was it was my responsibility to make sure the Gingerbread house went off on time. Yeah. So I was just hoping in the back of my head the whole interview, I'm like, please go off, and it went off perfectly, and the whole segment was great. And like I said, it just brought threw gas on the fire, and the next couple nights, thousands of people came out. But if life hands you lemons, I'm going to drink that lemonade. I mean, GMA comes out. How many times am I going to say no to that? I got to do it.
I got to say too, I got to add, like, we were getting a lot of hate at the time from, neighbors. City was not too happy with us, people coming on the street. I remember telling my dad, I was like, Dad, this is a problem. It's not what we signed up for. He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm going to tell you something. He's like, everything is marketing. Marketing is everything. He's like, everyone's got a marketing plan. Do you have an attention plan? He's like, that's what you guys have. He's like, whether people like it or hate it, you guys are getting attention. He's like, that's going to make you stick out. So I'm like, so what do we do? Do we go on GMA? He's like, do it. He's like, pour gas on the fire. And my dad being so unconventional as he is, I'm like, okay, let's do it. And it stuck with me. I think about all the time, everyone's got a marketing plan, but do you have an attention plan to get attention? And it stuck with us, and it worked.
And that live hit, while it has enormous scope and reach, is different than the much bigger commitment of being on the Great Christmas Light Fight. Did that take up an entire season of your time, or how did that work?
Well, they film so it airs during the holiday season. They film usually a year prior, so it airs next season.
The following season?
Yeah, okay. So we filmed in 21 and it aired in 22, but they come out to where it's earlier in the season. So we filmed in about late October, early November, and it was about a 3-day shoot. But we had to get everything ready while Halloween was going on, because by the time they came, it had to look like Christmas, and we had to dress like it was Christmas, even though it was 90 degrees outside and you see me on camera sweating. But yeah, it was a very cool experience. One of the best experiences I ever had. The whole team was awesome. They came out, they shot, they did a bunch of B-roll one day, and then the final day is when the judge came out and we walked him through, and it was a whole night. But it was definitely a point in Sammy and I's span at the house where I'm like, okay, I feel like we've made it, because ever since we started, we watched that show. Even before we started the house, we're like, we're going to get on that show one day. We would take notes and watch of what people were doing. And then I remember filming halfway through, it's like an out of the body experience. Like, wow, we're doing this. And then we were lucky enough. The whole way the show works is one episode competes. It's 4 families across America that compete with each other. Judge goes back to the winner's house and pronounces them the champions. And we were blessed and grateful enough to have the judge come back. And we're like, man, if this is not a sign to close the book on the house and start something new, I don't know what is.
And what's amazing about that is you talk about taking notes, watching the show. You've been very intentional from the time this was just an idea. Yeah. Reaching out to Disney, and you got some mentorship from Disney too with Imagineers.
Yeah, one of Walt's original guys, his name was Rolly Crump. He did It's a Small World, the Haunted Mansion, the Tiki Room, lot of classics at Disneyland. And we reached out to him when we first started the house and we were teenagers, and we would send him letters, and then he finally told us to come visit him out in California.
Oh, wow.
And we made it like an annual thing. We would go visit him, have lunch, have breakfast with him. We'd show him everything, and he was the one who taught me color theory on how different, how Walt and some of his guys told him how different buildings in Disneyland affect your mood, everything. So I learned sound. He gave us our best quote that we tell our guys all the time that work for us is color outside the lines. Think differently. It's okay to color outside the lines. And we use that to this day. He passed in 2023. We're still in very close contact with his wife, who is just a sweetheart. But he taught us invaluable lessons, and I'll never forget what he taught us. But just having that knowledge that was passed down from Walt to here, it's invaluable to us.
Incredible. And give me one thing, because I've never heard about this idea of the light or the color affecting mood. What's one takeaway from there?
Well, there's different. He taught me blue. It why do you think a lot of banks are blue? It provides security and comfort. Why do you think most restaurants have an orange, or fast food have orange, yellow, and red? It provokes hunger and desire. Purple gives you a sense of royalty. Green shows freshness, cleanness, and
I'm thinking of every huge corporate logo. You say blue and banking and Chase Bank, or whatever.
Police, security, and I never. He just taught me stuff that I never thought of.
So there's a whole psychology.
There is, and people they subliminally, they don't know what they're looking at, but subliminally they do, and that's what he taught us. Is a lot of the subliminal stuff that people look at. They don't know what they're looking at, but deep down, every human has an innate sense to know what they're looking at. It's so hard to explain.
We are going to wrap up here soon, but before we do, I want you to be able to pass this forward. We're talking to Sammy and Kyle Pratt, the Pratt Brothers, who do the Holiday Light Spectacular, and you got mentorship, and you got people coming in and teaching you things, and you were walking up to people in restaurants and Home Depots asking for advice, and then people are so generous, they share it when asked. So I want to ask you, for younger listeners who might be listening to the pod, who are thinking about the skilled trades, like, there's a lot of pressure right now to stay on a certain path.
Right.
You know, go to college, build a portfolio. You have built a portfolio with the living, breathing display that changed every year, that grew, that evolved. Like, how can other people take your experience and put it on their dreams and aspirations, particularly your dreams and aspirations that encompass the skilled trades?
Yeah, I would always say, it's very hard to get caught up in what people are saying around you and what are doing around you. I always think comparison is the thief of joy. Sammy and I have a display out at the event called Dare to Dream, and it takes us through our story. And the whole, to sum it up, the whole thing is to people walk out there, whether you want to be a nurse, an astronaut, a doctor, an engineer, no matter what. If you put your mind to something, you can do it. You don't have to do the Christmas lights to. Anybody can do anything. And Sammy and I always say, it doesn't matter where you come from or what you know. Anybody can learn anything. And my advice is what Rolly told me. It's color outside the lines. Don't be afraid to be different. Ignore the naysayers. It sounds so cliche, and you think of these cliches, you're like, oh yeah, it's a cliche, but it's true. There's a reason for it. And, if you're passionate enough about something, you'll want to learn it.
I would say, especially for people younger in their careers, take the risk. I mean, I think so many people are afraid to do things because they're afraid to fail, afraid to look funny or goofy to their friends. It doesn't matter. Even if you fail 100 times, that's where you're learning. You don't learn anything from success. I haven't learned one thing from success. I've learned more from getting my teeth kicked in like no other. But take the risk. Life is way too short, especially when you're in your 20s and 30s. You have your whole life ahead of you. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You can always go and apply for a job. But take the weird job, take the risk, and be ready to fail. And when you fail, learn from it and get back up and keep going. Kyle said it sounds cliche, but the world needs more of that. Definitely.
It's always better to lay your head on the pillow at night and wonder, instead of wondering what if I tried it or I failed. It's easier to go to bed knowing that I tried and I failed than wonder what if I didn't try.
For sure.
Well, good advice. And do you have one moment that you would share, because you're creating an emotional experience, where you saw a family or some kids experiencing one of your displays that has just always stuck with you?
I'm sure we both have different. Mine was last year at I think he was 10 years old, 11 years old. I met him at the event. He wanted his little pass signed, so I signed his little VIP card thing. And he told me he wanted to be a light programmer. And I'm like, oh, you should do it. And he's like, what do you use? And I'm like, I'm an open book. I'm like, here's what I use. Here's my computer setup. Go look it up on Google. About 2 weeks later, or the following year, this was in 24, the following year, this year, he came back and he showed me a video. He has his own light show at his house. And he did it. And I'm like,
man, that must have felt great to see.
That is the best, better than any paycheck, like the butterfly effect. I'm like, there you go. I'm like, there's a kid who saw something, he was trying it. And, Sammy and I are not these hoarders of knowledge or information. I'm like, no, go do it. Here's what I use. Here's this. And he did it. And I gave him so much props. I said, good for you, man. And I said, keep it up. I said, come back every year. Show me what you add. And I gave him my phone number. I'm like, text me anytime or call me if you have any questions.
That is so generous. Yeah. That's so cool.
It's awesome. That's the whole reason why we do what we do.
Wow. Sing.
I had a family come up to me last year. A gentleman came up to me towards the end of the night, towards the event, described me how he lost his mom that year and he wanted to take his kids to Disneyland and they couldn't afford it, and they came out here to Pratt Brothers Christmas, and it was such a good experience for them, and talked to me about some of his mental health struggles, what he's been going through the past year. And I think everyone at some point in life struggles with something. I can remember walking into Disneyland with stuff on my mind and being transformed into a place where my brain was somewhere else. And so hearing that, I'm like, man, like this is what we set out to do. There's no amount of money, no amount of success, no amount of awards that can replace that. I'm like, that's what I feel like our purposes on earth is to recreate that and take people out of their brains. Life's hard. The world's hard. Even if it's for 3 or 4 hours. I'm like, that's what it's about. And that's why I get up every day and I do this all day long.
And what's the growth plan now? Where's this going? It's a huge success now.
We want to become WWE wrestlers. No, I'm kidding.
You're drinking enough Red Bull, right?
No, our end goal is to build a theme park. We want to build a theme park in Arizona, about 200 acres, and we want to rival Disney.
Love it.
Well, that's a big plan.
That's a big plan.
Yeah.
And so, what are the steps? How close are you? What is the plan of the plan?
You know,
That's the dream. You gave me a vision. What's the plan?
Christmas is always the stepping stone. Sammy and I are still a very young company. We're about 4 years into doing this commercially. And the more we build, our main thing right now is we want to build the brand and be known as Pratt Brothers as a good family company brand that you can take your family to have a good time, and you get quality and you get the customer service that you should. So we want to keep building that and maybe expand into other holidays at one point, and eventually build enough capital to where we can get our own piece of land and do this on a bigger scale to where it's not just Christmas but year round.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Where can people find you on all the socials?
Everything is Pratt Brothers Christmas. PrattBrothersChristmas.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and you can find everything there.
Fantastic. Listen, guys, I love your story because it completely changes how people think about the skilled trades. It's not just wiring lights. It's about creativity, engineering, entrepreneurship, live entertainment, problem solving, leadership. You built your own lane using hands-on skills. And I think a lot of people who are listening to this are going to see themselves in your story. So thank you both for coming in.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Sometimes the skilled trades build cities, sometimes they power concerts, and sometimes they keep hospitals running. And sometimes they turn a family Christmas display into a nationally recognized experience seen by thousands of people every year. Skilled Nation, it's a way of life, it's a badge of honor.